heard about critical thinking? It's all the rage in college these days, right? Oh, we're supposed to learn critical thinking skills in this class. And in all classes, really. But what is it? What is critical thinking? Well, the moment we start asking that question, what is it? We've started critical thinking, right? So we have to learn to ask, what does that mean? What is it? This is what Socrates was known for. People used a word and he would say, what does that mean? What is that? Justice, what does it mean? So this is where critical thinking begins. It's a test for meaning. And we can start with asking, what does critical thinking mean? What is that word critical? And what is that word thinking? And we put them together. What does it mean, right? Incidentally, I've been going through, I think, like 12, 13 videos by now, and you haven't once asked me, what do you mean by thinking? I've not really defined that term, and I've done that on purpose, a little bit to get you curious, interested, maybe get you Googling things, looking words up. So we should probably define what thinking is today. So let's start there. Aristotle helps us to define what thinking is. He talks about reason and the 3 acts of the understanding. So let's talk about that first. What is reason? This is one of my favorite things. If you see me walking around campus, I have a cool button that says reason on it. But what is reason in itself? And I've given talks about this, so you can look up my talks under lectures. Reason in itself is the laws of thought. The laws of thought are 3. 1, the law of identity, which says that A is A. A thing is what it is. Rock is rock. Paper is paper. The law of the law of non-contradiction comes next, and it says something is not both A and non-A in the same respect and at the same time. So it's not both a rock and a non-rock in the same respect and at the same time. And then the law of excluded middle is the 3rd law, and it says that something is either A or it's non-A. It's either a rock or it's not a rock. So these 3 laws is reason in itself, but we don't just have reason in itself. We, as human beings, use reason. So when we're thinking, we're using reason. And Aristotle talks about 3 acts of the understanding, or 3 acts of the mind. And these are the forms of all thought. So think about this. The forms of all thought are concepts, judgments, and arguments. So if anything is thinking, they're using concepts, judgments, and arguments. If it's Jabba the Hutt, and it's using concepts, judgments, and arguments, then he's thinking. If it's my dog over here, and he is over here snoring right now, if he's thinking, then he would use concepts, judgments, and arguments. And he'd probably be teaching you right now. Let's see if he can do that. All right, but let's break this down. We're talking about critical thinking. And I've just talked about the forms of thought, concepts, judgments, and arguments, but I want to talk about concepts a little bit. What is a concept? Now, I've also tried to get you interested in loving being, and this is where concepts come in the area of being, thinking about being. So a concept is the act of identifying being, or what a thing is. And it's when we say rock. Rocks have certain features, right? And when we use that word rock, we're indicating something in the world. So concepts are where we grasp the essential nature of a thing. And we use words to communicate that thing. So think of it this way. There's a thing in the world, a rock. My mind grasps what it is. And now I want to communicate that concept that's in my mind to you. I do that by using words. So I use this word rock. And you can go, rock, what does that mean? And I can give you a definition. So definitions are giving meaning of concepts. That's how we communicate with one another. So concepts grasp the meaning of the thing. And now we can say more about that, and in a logic class we would. But we could talk about concepts grasp the nature of the thing, or properties, relations, states, activities of a thing. Okay, so concepts are the first act of reason, and this is the first act of critical thinking too. Concepts are evaluated by their meaning. sometimes concepts lack meaning. We don't understand that word. Perhaps that's what's happening with this word thinking. You're going, she keeps talking about thinking, but what does it mean? I don't understand. So I have to define it for you, right? Now, when we're defining, sorry, I almost knocked the table over. When we're defining words and exchanging meaning, that's the first act. And that's the most basic, most fundamental act we can do in thinking. And if we get this area wrong, then we're going to get the next two areas wrong too. Judgments come after concepts. So we want to make sure we have a common understanding when we use a word, that we understand the meaning and we're in agreement on that. In philosophy class, I talk about meaning is logically prior to truth. So when we make claims like thinking is good, that's a claim I've been making, then we want to understand, both of us, be on the same page about thinking, what that means, and good, what that means. We're going to put them together. That's more complex now, right? So when we make a judgment, we're saying X is Y. Thinking is good. And we want the judgments that we make to be true, right? That's good thinking. Bad thinking is when they're false. So when we put things together, X is Y, thinking is good, then we can test those as well. This is another application of critical thinking. You made this judgment, X is Y. What does that mean? For example, justice is the decision of the powerful people. We can test that, right? Is that what justice means? Is that true, that justice is what the powerful people say? Sometimes it turns out that way, but maybe that's just bad thinking and bad application. All right, so a statement can be tested for meaning, and it can be meaningless in two ways. Sometimes in class, I write on the board, blicks are grew. And I ask the students, is that true? And they go, what? I don't know what a blick is. I don't know what a grew is. If we don't know what the words mean, we can't say whether it's true or false. And something could be meaningless in another way, if it violates one of those laws of thought. If I say blicks are non-blicks, that's meaningless, right? It's like saying being is non-being. What? It's nonsense. So we do have tools for testing statements for meaning. Now, just because something has meaning doesn't mean it's true. That's another level, right? So we can think about steps in critical thinking. First, we test concepts for meaning, and we get on the same page about definitions of terms. And this is really important, that words have meaning, and meaning grasps being in some aspect of being. So the heart of critical thinking is carefully defining the words that we use. And this is words. Think about where we use words in conversations, in writing, in reading. This is the heart of communication with humans, between humans. So anywhere words are involved, we can test them for meaning. And thinking, remember, is about being. Concepts grasp being. Words name being. So critical thinking helps us to accurately grasp or understand being. And being is what is. It's all around us, right? So we want to understand the nature of things. When we think well, when we think critically, what do we get? What do we get? We get meaning. And that's what we need, right? We need meaning. And meaning makes us happy. Think about it. The things in life that make you happy, is it because they're meaningful? And I don't mean like meaningful to you. I mean ultimately meaningful. So if you love thinking, if you love being, and you think well, then you're on your way to getting meaning and being happy. And I want you to be happy. Think about it. Is this true? All right. So next time, I want to talk about critical thinking and making judgments and arguments. Thank you, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.